percentage of people think the sentences currently handed down for murder are about right? The answer is 18%.
That's right, fewer than 1 in 5 people believe the sentences handed down for murder are the right length. Nearly half of us think they're not long enough. You're watching Friday's Right Stuff with Steve First, Liz McClellan and Richard Herring. Richard's going to have the rest of today's headlines for you in just about 10 minutes or so. But first, it's a cliché, isn't it? Life, should it mean life? But that's kind of what we're discussing. Right Stuff at 5.tv is the place for your thoughts. The Nuffield Foundation charity questioned around 1,000 of us and found little support for an automatic life sentence for murder. In essence, not all murders are the same, is what Joe Public seems to be saying. And yet, someone always dies, has their life taken away from them against their wishes. So the consequences of a murder are always the same, so surely the sentence should be 2. The courts, though, of course, don't see things this way. Judges can dictate how long a life terrace should actually be, and it runs like this. Serious murders get 30 years, run-of-the-mill killings, whatever they are, 15 years, and the average term served by a lifer is 16 years. Do we need to change this one-size-fits-all murder sentence to a different sentence, maybe one for first-degree murder and one for second-degree murder, as they have in the States? Does the killer's intent to kill, or lack of it, should that have any bearing on the sentence, Steve, if the consequences are always the same? It doesn't really matter, does it, if someone intends to kill someone or someone...
Well, of course, if let's say you have a fight with somebody and, or as sometimes it's kind of crime of passion and someone, by misadventure, dies...
But that would be manslaughter.
But then it can be argued that you kind of did want to kill them and, or it's aggravated assault, but
if they die, they die.
Look, if you walk into someone with a gun and you shoot them in cold blood, and there is absolutely... It's a black and white case of that is a cold-blooded murder.
What if you go to rob a house, you're disturbed, you have a hammer with you, which you intended perhaps to use to defend yourself, not necessarily to kill, but it's still a weapon. You kill someone with the weapon, that's a murder.
It is a murder, and I think... But, look, I mean, this is why... this is why there are lawyers, and this is why America has first-degree, second-degree murder.
Do we need that here?
I think so. I mean, look, there's no... Look, I mean, unfortunately, with a huge amount of cases, it's like people get very passionate about, well, they should have got this and they should have got that, and it is that clear-cut. And unfortunately, this is why we have a legal system, is that it isn't that clear-cut. And cases have to be heard on the merit on each individual case.
The consequences are always the same. If it's your loved one who dies, who's murdered...
Why is it so general? Why does it have to be so general? Because,
Well, the law just discriminates in this country as to whether or not you intended to kill, in which case it will be murder, or whether it's an accident that someone died
and I think
that's in which case it's manslaughter.
That's an important thing. I think each case needs to be examined on the circumstances surrounding each awful outcome, if it is always murder. I mean, but
that's the point. If the outcome is always the same, someone's dead, then why do we need different sentences?
Euthanasia? Because will they talk about euthanasia, that they class that as murder as well?
Euthanasia, if the person themselves wants to die, would be not...
What
if someone's been abusing you or your child, or you've had an abusive relationship with someone and you snap and kill someone? That's different than, walking in and just shooting a friend, or, so it's, there are different degrees. So I think with all these things, you've got to get all the evidence. It's no good looking at the newspapers or talking about it. People in the courts hear all the evidence and all the circumstances, and then they make a decision. And that's the way, that's what's good about our country, is that we have a legal system. We don't just put people in prison, well, you've killed someone, you've run someone over, did you do that on purpose or not? You go to prison for 30 years.
One of the key elements of this discussion about first and second-degree murder revolves around gangland deaths. If you have a group of 10 youths and they collectively kill someone, but it's impossible to prove which one of the 10 struck the killer blow or fired the weapon, a second-degree murder charge, if we introduced it, would enable all of the people in that group to be prosecuted for murder. Is that sensible? Is that the way we should go, rather than no one being prosecuted?
Well, it's better that no one gets prosecuted if only one person did the killing. If you don't know who did it, that's the way the legal system works. You have to prove someone's guilty. If you can't prove it, then we start putting innocent people in prison, which happens
but
every
this,
day.
I agree with that,
but this
though. I do
second-degree
agree with
murder
that.
would mean that you could have 9 of the 10 people did not strike the killer blow, but if we introduced a second-degree murder charge, they could all end up with a life sentence.
Well, maybe, but that seems unfair if 9 of them didn't have anything to do with it.
they were all there.
I don't think it's unfair because never in my life will I ever be around when that happens to me because you put yourself in that situation. They're part of it. They didn't stop it, so you need to be.
But I don't think you never know what I think there always has to be. If you just say people who've murdered people have to go to prison forever, that's a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah.
I think you've got to allow people the chance to feel sorry for what they've done and have some future life. If you make a mistake and you kill someone, that shouldn't necessarily
be the
be
mark of a civilised
Okay.
society.
OK, we've got to remember, of course, the reason we have a life sentence is that was what the lawyers thought we, the British people, would want when we got rid of the death penalty. It seemed the natural transition. Love your thoughts on sentences, how we should punish murders. Do we need to look at it again? Maybe introduce a second-degree murder charge. WriteStuff@5.tv is the place for your thoughts. Now, just before we hear your thoughts on preschool bullies, let's hear some of your emails on murderers and life sentences.
OK, the first email is from Patrick, and he says there are always degrees of intent and mitigating circumstances that could be examined, but the bottom line goes back to the original criteria. If you carry out a murder, then you should serve a life sentence.
OK.
Kirsty says the purpose of prison in this country isn't to incapacitate, but to rehabilitate and reform offenders.
Hey,
Therefore,
let's start that one again.
isn't to incapacitate, but to rehabilitate and reform offenders.
No, it isn't. It's half and half. It's supposed to be punish and rehabilitate.
They say to imprison a person for the rest of their life would be contradictory.
What?
Sam says, just thought that it would be a good idea to point out that by introducing second-degree murder,
Yeah.
etc., if using your gangland example,
Yeah.
it may well provide an incentive for the other 9 to tell the police who actually committed the crime. I do also think it is farcical that cold-blooded murderers can spend the same amount of time, often not very long in prison, as a man who defends his home from a burglar and accidentally kills him or her.
Well, so if it's accidental, then it sort of edges towards manslaughter. But you can still do, a long sentence, a life sentence on manslaughter.
Yeah.
So, good, interesting stuff. I mean, people are definitely thinking about these changes.